While the fate of the Red Cross nurse, Louisa Akavi, remains unknown, her family, the Red Cross and the New Zealand government say they have not given up hope. Louisa was on her 17th mission delivering medical supplies in Syria in 2013 when the convoy she was travelling in came under fire. 7 people were abducted. 4 were released the next day, but Louisa and 2 Syrian drivers were not among them. Both the International Committee of the Red Cross and the New Zealand government have made concerted efforts to find and save Louisa, along with the drivers. A story media have agreed not to tell for 5.5 years, so as not to put her at any further risk. Today, that all changed with the ICRC breaking its silence and putting out a plea to anyone with information that could help locate the 3 Red Cross staff. Here's our political editor, Jane Patterson.
Today we are making a public plea for information about 3 of our staff members who were abducted in Syria in 2013. The staff are Louisa Akavi, a dedicated and committed nurse from New Zealand who has been working for the Red Cross ever since 1988. And also Ala Rajab and Nabil Bekdounes, both Syrians who have been working for us as drivers, and both of them, I know, are loving husbands and caring fathers.
The ICRC says it's gone public on the disappearance of Louisa Akavi and 2 Syrian drivers after the fall of the last ISIS bastion in Syria, Baghouz. It did so amid concerns that they'd lose Louisa's trail following the collapse of the caliphate. It says the last credible sighting of her was late last year. The government here has also been following active leads since early this year. New Zealand officials went into an internally displaced persons camp in Syria where there was a suspected sighting, but that proved to be a false lead. There's been no news of Louisa since then. Director of Operations for the ICRC, Dominic Stillhart, has this message for Louisa and her 2 colleagues.
I want to tell you, Louisa, Ala and Nabil, we have continued searching for you throughout all these years, and we won't give up hope to see you once again among us. Unfortunately, and despite all our efforts, we don't know what's happened to Ala and Nabil ever since 2013. As to Louisa, we know that she is held captive by the Islamic State group, and we have repeatedly received credible information about her whereabouts.
And he had this plea.
With the loss of territory of the Islamic State in Syria, the urgency to find our colleagues has reached a new peak. We are thus calling on anybody who has information on Louisa, Ala and Nabil to urgently step forward and share this information with us.
The ICRC says in the first years of Louisa's captivity they were in active communication with Islamic State in Syria, but were not able to persuade them to release her, and after that communication fell off. It says that because of the nature of its work, the ICRC has relationships with armed actors, and they've tried as many avenues as possible. That included trying to influence the Islamic State group leadership by speaking to sheikhs in Europe, the Middle East and Asia, as well as prisoners in the Middle East who might be able to guide them towards fresh information. The New Zealand Red Cross also spoke publicly today, with Director General Neve Lawless telling reporters it was a difficult day for Louisa's family and the Red Cross.
Louisa is a valued member of the Red Cross whānau. She's an extremely capable and experienced nurse, dedicated, resilient and compassionate. She's worked with the Red Cross Red Crescent movement for more than 30 years, and this was her 17th field mission. Louisa has dedicated her life to assisting those affected by war and violence, and she went to Syria because people needed her. She wanted to use her skills to make a difference for some of the world's most vulnerable people.
Ms Lawless also described the New Zealand Red Cross's dealings with the Akavi family.
Right from the very beginning, we had a specialist crisis management team here, as well as a team in Geneva. And all along, we've worked closely beside the family in terms of any support, information, conversations, and they've been part of decisions along the way. They're a really resilient family, so we very much respond to what they ask and need from us. And from our perspective, we have a very warm, supportive relationship with them.
The New York Times has reported there were negotiations between the Red Cross and the terrorist group in the initial months after Louisa's abduction via text, phone calls and email. It reported Islamic State initially demanded a ransom of more than $1.5 million and for the release of detained fighters. The ransom later rose to $33 million, falling again to just over $8 million, on par with other Western hostages. The New Zealand government has a policy of not paying ransoms for hostages. The head of the Red Cross's crisis management team, John Dyer, says his organisation takes the same position.
The Red Cross movement has a standard policy, and this is made clear to people that deploy and to everybody else, that we do not pay ransom as such. So New Zealand Red Cross hasn't been party to any discussions with regarding ransom.
The family has requested privacy, but spokesperson Tuani Robati released this video statement.
Our sister, cousin and aunt Louisa was taken in Syria in October 2013. Our family misses her very much and is concerned for her safety. We think about her every day and hope she feels that and finds strength in that. We know she's thinking of us and that she will be worried about us too. Louisa is an incredibly experienced nurse and aid worker who knew the risks of her job.
Said the family was very proud of Louisa and the work she's dedicated her life to.
She has true goodness in her heart. That's why she became a nurse. She loves helping people. She's been through tough times in her job before, but she's stuck at it because she loves it. Our family has been in regular contact with and supported by the New Zealand Red Cross, the International Committee of the Red Cross, and the New Zealand government throughout this ordeal. We miss Louisa very much. We love her. We just want her home.
The Foreign Minister Winston Peters released a statement saying part of the government's efforts over the years included the deployment of a small multi-agency team in Iraq, including the SAS, specifically focused on finding Louisa. He says all the territory once held by ISIS has been liberated, but her whereabouts remains unknown. Mr Peters says the government will continue to work tirelessly to locate her and bring her to safety. The New Zealand government had remained of the view the story should not have been made public while Louisa's fate remained unknown, reiterated in Mr Peters' statement with the comment the priority must be the safety of the hostage, and the government received clear advice any publicity would place Louisa at even greater risk. However, he also acknowledged the cooperation of the media over the years and the circumstances in which the story has now come into the public arena. From Parliament for Checkpoint, Jane Patterson.